In the Matsumoto study, he has taken water from polluted rivers and lakes and from non-polluted rivers and lakes, and he tested them and found out that the more polluted ones, they have literally a polluted essence. Like they don't form crystalline structures when they're frozen. Whereas the ones from natural sources, they're harmonious. They do form very structured and crystallized structures. I mean, he even found out that water running through pressurized taps is lacking in structure. Like, so it's almost like, you know, if it's in a negative environment, it picks up on the negative energies. And I mean, we're all basically 90% water. I mean, there's a huge discrepancy about what the percentage actually is, and that's because it depends on how you measure it, I guess. So there's lots of science pointing that spirituality is correct when it comes to us being able to affect the world around us using our minds. Spiritual gurus have talked about this for a long time. They've talked about how our thoughts and words carry power. I mean, even in spiritual texts like the Bible, it even talks about how God spoke the universe into existence. Science is now proving that spiritual texts and shamans that have been teaching based on these texts, and Buddhist monks, right, have been teaching for many generations that our minds are very powerful. I mean, you always see like the karate videos of people cutting a board in half with their hand and rocks in half with their hand. I mean, some of them are scam artists and may cheat by cutting the board, or, you know, having weakened bricks that look like bricks but aren't actually brick material. I mean, they're sham artists for everything, but at the same time, shamans have claimed that that's possible for a long time. I mean, science is proving that there's something to all of this now. Shamans and spiritual teachers, they're proving that they haven't been whack jobs. I mean, they're proving that almost anything is possible. And I mean, even in the Bible, it talks about Jesus and the miracles that Jesus did. Some of those miracles that Jesus did, some people would call them ridiculous or would call them impossible. The type of miracles he was producing was basically helping get rid of people's diseases. I mean, you now today have people claiming that they're getting rid of their own diseases. You have people being studied and they're preying on people and helping other people get rid of diseases. And we got science now that's studying all this and proving that this isn't a joke. This is real. This is actually got physical, tangible, testable outcomes. So the placebo effect exists. It's not a wishy-washy belief system. Science has to take into account in all their experiments for the placebo effect whether a product is considered good and useful. That is all determined on the variation outside of the placebo effect. I mean, it's funny how everybody is talking so poorly about Luc Montagnier's experiments on water. They're discrediting the studies that Matsumoto has done on water. I mean, but you can't discredit all the peer-reviewed science that there is out there when it comes to people proving and science proving that the spiritual world, the world of energy, the world of thoughts and dreams, and the world that we consider the unknown, even though we can't test that world all the time. I mean, science is getting closer and closer every year to testing it. Science is testing it now. I mean, the double slit experiment, you can't disprove, because that experiment's been done over and over and over. It's been done at multiple universities since the first time it was done, and it's been done in multiple ways, and there's no disproving it. And that proves Misuri-Moto's works. That proves the black box works, or what I called the random number generator experiments. It's all coming to the same conclusion. There is another scientist, Bruce Lipton. So he was doing scientific experiments on stem cells. So he was doing basically stem cell research, and he was wondering, because all of our bodies have stem cells in it, especially babies. They have a lot of stem cells in them, or T cells they can also be called. I'm pretty sure they're basically the same thing, because they call it T cell research or stem cell research. So that's why they're collecting like umbilical cords and products from giving birth. That's why you can donate it, like the placenta and stuff like that, because apparently it's got lots of stem cells in it. So they're able to take the stem cells out of those afterbirthing materials, and they're able to do scientific experiments on it. Science wants that material so that they can do these stem cell studies on them, because the stem cell studies that they're doing, they believe could potentially help mankind in the future. So like I said, Bruce Lipton was doing some stem cell research, but he was wondering in his mind, our body has stem cells saved in it in certain parts of our body. He's wondering, how do the stem cells or T cells know how to go from those parts of the body to go to other parts of the body that need to be fixed and healed, and where's the programming that tells them what to turn into? Like, he's wondering, how does that work? So what he did is he took a whole bunch of petri dishes, and he set them up with slightly different variations of what you would call like food in them. So he took the T cells and put them in all these different petri dishes with all these different types of basically food slash environment inside of each petri dish, and he just let them incubate to see what he would actually get in each environment or each petri dish. And he found out that one petri dish would like grow lung cells, one petri dish would grow liver cells, the other petri dish would grow heart cells. So after all the studies he's been doing, he basically came to the conclusion that the only thing that tells the T cells what to grow into is literally the environment that it's in. So that's why the T cells will exist in a certain part of your body and they won't become anything. But as soon as they get sent and ushered into a certain part of the body, they grow into what they're supposed to grow into, because the environment is a certain environment. I mean, that's why if you get, let's say, a cancerous liver, why the liver will continue to get cancerous until the cancer is gone, because the environment where that cancer is different than the environment where the liver exists in. So it constantly keeps changing the liver's environment to its own environment, and it keeps spreading and taking on new environment for itself. It's kind of like the same thing we're doing with our cities. I mean, in a way, we're kind of like the world's virus, because we build a city and the city just slowly expands. So as we expand our cities, it's like we're taking over a new environment. So we're changing that environment, and people are saying that's why city environment is more toxic and has a lot more pollution in it than, let's say, the environment outside of the cities. But as the cities expand, it basically turns more of the area around it cancerous, right? The analogies are similar between the two, but that's the thing. As the environment changes for that liver and it gets turned cancerous, I mean, means the more you got to cut out, or the more you have to, I guess, use your intention to get rid of that cancer that's in that part of your body. Anyways, if part of the liver gets damaged, we have what's called autophagy. So our body goes through autophagy, which is like if you're doing a fast, your body will be put into autophagy as soon as it runs out of carbohydrates and starts burning fat. What autophagy is it starts eating cells that are basically dead or dying, like unhealthy cells, and it will basically eat and get rid of those toxic cells, and it'll expel them from the body. So what your body needs, if it's going to go and take parts of its liver, let's say the cells in the liver, and it's going to break a whole bunch of them down because they're not functioning the way they're supposed to function, and it's going to destroy them, it needs those T cells to grow back into the liver to repair the parts of the liver that were destroyed by the body. I guess the only programming that these T cells are getting is the environment that they're living in, because I mean, the blood that goes into your heart, the blood that goes into your liver, it's all the same blood, but I mean, it all has different nutrients in it, because in essence your liver will clean your blood. So because your liver is cleaning the blood environment in the liver is different than the blood environment in the heart, because now the liver is sending the good blood out into the bloodstream, and that good blood is now going into the heart. So the heart blood doesn't have the toxins in it because the liver took the toxins out. I mean, the environments in each part of your body are completely different, and you don't want a T cell that was programmed already with, let's say, heart programming, and then it gets sent by accident to the liver, but it starts growing into a heart cell. I mean, you don't want that. Nature doesn't want that. We wouldn't have survived if nature did that. So basically, with the programming being in the actual environment, it makes complete sense that that is how our bodies function, and that's how these T cells get their programming and how they work. So Bruce Lipton's caught a whole bunch of flack from the scientific community because of his experiments with just saying that T cells don't actually get programmed, they just develop into what they develop in because of the environment that they're existing in. So he's come under a lot of fire, and because he was a scientist and he's been coming to a lot of conclusions, he says that he's spiritual now. He's a spiritual person. There are a lot of scientists go into their certain study and they have a scientific mind, so they have no spiritual awareness, they have no inkling to want to be spiritual, but then their scientific area that they're in, whatever it happens to be, ends up eventually leading them into spirituality. So I mean, science is proving the spiritual world more every single day. So scientists more every day are becoming spiritual people. They're believing in what you can't see. Quantum physics is bringing in so many findings that basically says that our world isn't what it looks to be. Like, there's more to the world than what your eyes can see, your ears can hear, your nose can smell, your tongue can taste. There's more to it than that. There's stuff out there you can't see. I've known for a long, long time that our eyes can only see a certain spectrum of light. We're lucky if we see like 33% of the light spectrum. There's so much spectrum above and below the spectrum that we can actually see. 66% more stuff existing in what we can't see, in the parts of the world that we literally cannot see because our eyes don't allow us to see them. So I mean, 66% existing when we can't see is pretty huge. Like 2/3 of the world means we can't see 2/3 of the world. We only see 1/3 of the world at most. Our ears are the same way. Our spectrum of hearing is at best 33% of the entire spectrum. That's why you can blow into a dog whistle. You can't hear it with your ears, but dogs can hear it because their range of hearing is on a different range level than what our ears are. That's why some people can hear things that other people can't hear, because they can either hear lower decibels or higher decibels better than other people because their range is slightly different. But all of us humans fall into like an average type range. So if 2/3 of what's happening out in the world you can't actually hear, and you only hear 1/3 of what's happening in the world, there's way more noise out there than what you're ever aware of. And the same thing goes with our taste buds, right? Same thing goes with our nose. You can't smell the entire spectrum of smells. So if you're lucky to only see 33% of the visual light spectrum, or of the visual spectrum period, like it doesn't even have to be light. It's just, it could be things that you can't see because it's on a different frequency than what your eyes are actually capable of seeing. The frequency of what your ears hear. If it's not at the right frequency, then you can't hear it. Just like the taste buds. If it's not on the right frequency and it doesn't fall inside of the frequency that your tongue can actually taste, if it falls outside of that frequency, you're not going to taste anything. So the same thing goes with your nose. You can't smell everything. The spectrum of smells is beyond what you can smell. So there's smells out there that you can't smell. I mean, maybe that's why the crazy cat lady who lives in a pee-infested house, she can't smell the disgustingness in the house with the cat pee, whereas anybody else who walks in can smell it. But that's kind of on a different story, because there's actually a virus that exists that cats eventually can give to their owners that actually breaks the blood-brain barrier and then goes into the brain and actually infests the brain to make the brain think that that smell is an actual good smell, and makes you think that it doesn't stink. And then this is a way for the cats to be accepted more by their owners. So it benefits the cat, but it's actually not the cat doing it. It's like a virus that the cat has that can eventually infest the human host. And on that topic, we can go into gut bacteria and talk about how gut bacteria and your gut environment affects your body. But that's another huge talk in and of itself. So to wrap things up and to have a conclusion to this part of my video, the placebo effect is real. The placebo effect has been proven by science for hundreds of years. We know that the placebo effect exists. We know that it's real. The double slit experiment has proven why the placebo effect is real. The water experiments that are being done proves that not only does water in a way have a consciousness, but our consciousness can actually influence and affect the water's consciousness. We found out that our environment that we live in, the environment that cells live in, can be conducive or can negatively influence a cell's environment, which in turn positively or negatively affects the cell. So the same thing goes with us. That's why in spiritual teachings they teach, if you're in a bad environment with bad friends, bad family, you gotta find better friends, right? Millionaires talk in all of their speeches. People that want to learn how to become multi-millionaires, learn how to become professionals in their area of expertise, they're told all the time by these speakers, you need a better environment. You become the people that you're around. So they say, take the top 5 friends that you hang out with the most and look at their life. What is their life like? Is their life the way that you want it to be? Because if not, you got to get new friends. That speaks totally to the environment. If you have an environment of negativity, that's going to influence you in a negative way, and you're going to be a negative person. If you get around good and positive people, they're going to influence you positively, because it puts you in a positive environment, and you're going to be able to flourish. On that note, I just want to say thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.